Hello and good morning. It's a lovely Sunday morning and welcome again to another edition of SonRise. My name is Zubi Okemefuna and with me this morning is our one and only Bibi J. Bibi.
Yes, thanks, Prof. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us on the show this morning. As Prof said, this is me again in your faces, Bibi Johnson. Prof, so glad to have you again this morning. How are you doing? It's a beautiful day. How are you?
I'm good. I'm very well, thank you. It's been a very busy week, and I feel like I can say that for everybody, right? Just so many things happening. Without going into too much detail. I mean, if you only think of the election, how long people wait. I mean, I think I was watching the news, and one of the guys, they were confused as to what day it was because they had been awake for pretty much 3 days on end.
Exactly.
This week, busy week, but I'd say ultimately rewarding because at the end of the day, when you get to rest, it's something to be grateful for. How about you, Bibi? How have you been?
Oh yeah, I'm very great. I'm good. As you said, the elections just took everything for the week, but here we are today. Anyway, I can't complain. It was a very busy week for me actually, and as you rightly said, it's what everyone is going through at the moment. It is November, just a month to the end of the year. So even at work, you're kind of closing down things and everything. But yeah, we're good and I'm very well. Thank you very much.
Great. All the more to look forward to SonRise, isn't it? And somebody might be asking, so what is SonRise? Well, SonRise, think about it this way. The Bible says the Son of Righteousness arises with healing in its wings. And here we are, the Son of Righteousness rises, and whom the Son sets free is free indeed. This is just the time for us to come together, spend some time just chilling out, getting to know each other better, and then just looking at some things that are really topical issues for us as we wait to get into the service. And so on the topic of topical issues, Bibi, I'm sure that we've got something interesting to talk about this week, because remember, last week we talked about the lockdown and it was a very interesting conversation. And I think something new is coming up, isn't it?
It is. Yes, you're right, Prof. Last week was very interesting. I mean, if you missed the episode last week, you need to go back and watch the replay. But today we have got something so interesting. I know that right now, everyone is thinking about the US elections and all of that. But to be honest with you, what really matters to us today, here, right now, is the news that came out during the week, right? About the vaccine. So we heard the news that, the scientists have made a breakthrough and there is a vaccine for the coronavirus and it should be out by next month. And I know this is Prof's space. So Prof, why don't you tell us about vaccine? What do we need to know about vaccine? So what exactly is a vaccine? So let's start from there.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much, Bibi. And I think before I answer the question, maybe I should let the audience know why it is my space, just so they know.
Oh,
I haven't just got a YouTube video and I'm telling you, but I actually have a PhD in structural and molecular biology, written a thesis on this sort of thing in immunology, which is the space in which vaccines operate. I've worked in the pharmaceutical industry, directly and indirectly with companies involved in producing vaccines. I understand the process of developing a vaccine and getting it to the market. So I think I'm in a very good position to be able to talk about this. So, and I think it's really a great opportunity to be able to do that right here with you, Bibi. So your question, what exactly is a vaccine? Well, a vaccine is something that you put in a body, in a person's body, to allow their immune system to fight off disease, okay, to fight off infectious disease. An infectious disease is a disease that is caused by an agent, something external to the body, and then comes into the body and then just infects the body and starts to cause problems, right? And the vaccine, what a vaccine does is that it tries to get ahead of the game by getting the body prepared so that when that infectious agent comes, the body is prepared to fight it off.
To fight it. Oh, fantastic. So it's not actually like the vaccine is going to, it's a cure for a virus, basically. It's just preparing your body for whenever you come across any virus, your body is able to fight off the virus, right?
Well, so that's an important question you're asking, actually, and we need to make that an interesting distinction there. So vaccines by historically have been against viruses, right? Viral agents. Interestingly, there are vaccines for other kinds of diseases, not just viruses, but the most common ones we know are viruses. In fact, now there are people designing vaccines for cancers and things like that. But the important point you made is the preventative aspect of it. That's exactly true. A vaccine is not a cure, because a cure means that the person has already caught the infection.
That's right.
Vaccine stops the person from catching it in the first place. So that's why a vaccine would be administered before there's an infection. Once there is an infection, what you're administering is no vaccine, it's a treatment.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you for clarifying that, because I'm sure there's so many people on this show this morning who are also thinking the same thing as I am thinking. So in terms of talking about vaccines still, what are the different types? Do we have different types of vaccines?
Yes, there are different types of vaccines, and there are different ways of looking at vaccines. You can either look at vaccines based on what they treat. So whether they are vaccines against viral diseases or the kinds of diseases, so coronaviruses, influenza, and so forth, or you can look at vaccines based on what they are and how they work. Okay. Oh. So yeah. So for example, there are vaccines that are made by taking a virus, removing the part of the virus that makes it infectious, and then leaving part of it that will allow the body to recognize the virus and then putting it back into the body. So that's one. So these are attenuated processes. And then there are other vaccines that will actually take the DNA or the RNA of the virus, right? And then put it again in the body. So that means the body recognizes that and develops immunity or starts to recognize the virus and fight it. And there are other vaccines that would use particles, just protein particles. Yeah. So many different ways of doing it. The objective is the same. If you understand how the condition works, the infection works, and how it is that it lands in the body and starts to take root, then you start to ask, how do I break up that process? And then it allows you to design a vaccine. So the particular that we're talking about that was announced is one of many different types. This particular one is a vaccine that has the nucleic acid, kind of the DNA of the virus or the RNA of the virus that's going to be injected. There are other vaccines that use the other types that I've talked about.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. Honestly, I wanted to start laughing because in my head I'm thinking, okay, how many years did it take you to study all of this? Like, did you have to spend like 10-15 years to study all of this? Because I don't know, it sounds so serious and it is serious actually. But yeah, thank you for that. So there was this thing they mentioned on the news about some people getting the vaccine first. So what does that mean? Who are these people and why are they getting it first?
Yes, that's a good question. So the objective of vaccination is prevention, right? As you can imagine, you're trying to prevent the disease from taking root. So you must have heard the R factor and so forth as they were talking. And what that means is that when one person, it takes only one person, right, to catch a disease that infects every other person. Right. Now, when that person catches it and infects 2 other people, that's 3 people that have got it, right? But if all the other 2 now infect 2 other people, that becomes 7 people that got it. So it goes like that. So it keeps, and that's the thing, because the infection process can become exponential, you want to stop it quite quickly. And one of the ways to do that is to vaccinate. And when you vaccinate people, it means that the disease has no way to come in. At least you've limited the number of ways it can come in. So that's one way. So, but often you do that when you have the luxury of I guess, time. So things like polio and some of the other childhood vaccines that children are given, that's why that's done that particular way. But when you have a situation like what we have, where the disease has already taken root, you have to look at where the key vulnerabilities are. And what is it that is driving the healthcare crisis? It's the hospital admissions, really, not infections necessarily, but hospital admissions and deaths, right? Because this is where healthcare resources are going. So you have to ask yourself, what's the best way to deal with this situation? Well, you have to target it to those who are going to be taking up hospital beds and those who are going to die. And that's why, the focus will be on the vulnerable groups, those who are most likely to be exposed, those who are most likely to also, unfortunately, suffer from it or even die from it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. At least that makes sense now, because I was thinking, okay, so why are they saying some people? I mean, I heard when they said that the elderly people, maybe over 65 or something like that, but I didn't really understand why, because if you're over 65 and don't have any health issues, why should you have it first? But yeah, thank you for that explanation. So for us as Christians, and I know this is one where we all have different views on whether, because you would hear, even with children vaccinations, like they say to you, some people would say, oh, no, I don't want my children to be vaccinated at all. I just want them to grow organically and all of that stuff. So what does this mean for us as Christians?
Well, that's a good question, Bibi. I think as Christians, one thing we need to be careful about doing is, presenting our perspectives as doctrine, and presenting our personal views as doctrine. What I can say as Christians is, number one, we have to recognize that this is good news, okay? Because even if it's something that we've decided is not for us, but for something to be good news, it doesn't necessarily need to benefit us directly.
That's right, yeah.
The fact that there is something that could help people to deal with this situation, and we're not just talking of the health consequences, we're talking of the economic consequences, we're talking of the social consequences. Yeah. I think that it means that it is good news. The second thing for us as Christians is that because we are part of the solution and not part of the problem, whenever we're considering and talking about things like this, we always have to ask ourselves how we're communicating this information, how we're sharing this news. Is it kingdom related? Is it kingdom relevant? Is it kingdom driven?
Wow.
We're not of those who would spread fear. We're not of those who would spread news that we haven't validated and verified, so false news. But we are those who share good news. That's what the gospel is. So whenever you're going to share any information, particularly relating to this news about the vaccine, you have to ask yourself, is what I'm about to share good news?
Yeah.
Is it for the best for the person that's going to hear it? And is it kingdom oriented and kingdom driven? Am I doing it with the best, not just with the best interest of the person at heart, but have I done my due diligence to ensure that what I'm sharing is good news?
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for that. You know what? If you haven't said anything this morning, I think the only thing I have taken out of this is that we should see this vaccine as good news first and foremost, before anything else, right? Even if I'm never going to take it, or if I feel like, oh, I don't want my family to have it or something like that, it is still good news. So, and that's what we should see it as. So thank you so much, Prof. You see, people, why I call him Prof, you know, I mean, he knows about all of this. So if you have any other questions whatsoever about this vaccine, please do send them in to us, and see, we have our own in-house Prof. We don't need to go and consult somebody externally. So please send them in, and Prof will be more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much, Prof. So now we're moving on to our next segment of the program. And Prof, over to you.
Yeah, baby, I know you're trying to butter me up because you know what's coming next. You know it's going to be time for your spotlight. It's not working, I'm sorry. I saw what you did to me last week, so I'm going to get back at you.
I came prepared, don't worry. Yeah.
So for anybody that doesn't know, our Spotlight Minute is when we take some time within a minute or thereabouts to ask a few questions to the person in the spotlight. So how it works is this. You have 30 seconds to answer the most number of questions that you can. The current record is 6, so I answered 6 questions in 30 seconds. I'm going to make sure you answer 2 questions, okay? And if there is any question that you hear that isn't clear, or you didn't understand, you of course you can ask me to repeat the question, but bear in mind that's going to eat into your time. In the alternative, you can ask me to pass, and then I can give you another question, okay? And so when I tell you it's time to start, I'm going to start my timer, and when it's done, you will hear the timer sound. Okay, so
can I just say, for the record, so the record I am trying to beat this morning is 6 questions answered under 30 seconds, right? So, and I want to see if I can get over 6. Actually, I should. That's why I'm a woman. All right, bring it on, Prof.
Okay, so Bibi, are you ready?
I am ever ready.
So your 30 seconds starts now. So what's your name?
Bibi Johnson.
What's your favorite color?
Brown.
What's your favorite number?
7.
What year were you born?
1978.
In what city were you born?
Lagos.
In what country did you first go to university?
UK.
Where did you meet your husband?
Heathrow Airport. See, this is not me. I beat you there because you didn't ask many questions. How many questions did I answer?
Well, it pains me, but I think that was 7 questions you answered. But you saw how quickly I was asking those questions. When you asked mine, you were going so slowly, you know.
That is not true. Please, we need to get a replay of that session. We need to play it again and see.
Me a question and I answered, and you went, "Oh, really? You're a cat person? Who does that?"
Prof, just accept it. Accept it. You know, as a woman, I think I am blessed in that space. Ask me 20 questions in 30 seconds and see if I wouldn't get all of them. So even when you were asking the question, you were still thinking about your question, like, and then you got the time. Anyways, I won. Yeah. So I clap for myself. Thank you all very much. Yes, I appreciate the love. Thank you. Yes, I'm seeing all the thumbs up there. Thank you. Really appreciate it, people. All right. Yes, and that's the end. Nope. That's not true. I am seeing thumbs up everywhere. It's all on my screen. Yes, thank you, people. Yes, so that's the end of our spotlight session. And if you would like to be part of this, you want to come on live with us to join in, please do send us a message and we'll reach out to you. So it will be fun. I mean, the more the merrier, okay? Prof, over to you now. Thank you.
Yeah, so there's something coming up. Obviously, it's almost time for the service. And, this is the time we actually take to think about what we're going to be expecting and what we're going to be experiencing. And, Bibi, last week, Pastor Demi talked about this idea of true freedom. And there was something he said that really, stimulated my thinking. And this was this idea of freedom without boundaries. Actually, it's a myth, right? Because for freedom to mean anything, there's got to be boundaries. That's part of what defines. I think that's kind of mind-bending in a sense, because you would imagine that freedom and boundaries are mutually exclusive.
That's right.
And I think that's something that is a very interesting concept, because then you start to think about it, and then you kind of think about some of the things we see in today's world and how we got to where we are, how it is that when you seek to remove all boundaries, then freedom means nothing. And in fact, when the boundaries are removed, that very thing which you think is freedom becomes bondage. So I think that's a very interesting thing that we're talking about now. How about you? Was there anything that came up?
To be honest with you, when Pastor Timmy started talking about true freedom, I went straight and I was thinking of, okay, what is it? What does it really mean? And the way he explained it, and it's just one of those things that you say that is like the Bible, right? We can both pick up a scripture and read it, and it will mean two different things to us, even though we're both reading the same verse and the same. And when he was talking about true freedom, initially when he started, he said what true freedom. He said, oh yes, this is what true freedom is. And I was thinking to myself, okay, so what is true freedom? So in my head, I said, okay, this is one of those things that you just want to take some time out and really meditate on it for God to kind of to expose it, to explain it more to you what it is. I thought about something that I was going to actually send a message to Pastor Timmy about to tell me a bit more about it. And I was gleaning from what he said last month when we're talking about I think it was favor or something like that. We're talking about, yes. So, and for me, it's just the way Pastor Timmy has been able to kind of explain true freedom. Like you said, it said that true freedom, when there's freedom, you have the boundary. Like you think of, okay, there is boundaries here. I've got boundaries around me, but how do I know whether I am free or not? And it's so amazing that even as Christians, even though we know the Bible says that he whom the Son has set free is freed indeed, it still feels like as if we're not free. And I'm sure Pastor Timmy will get there. It will get into that to explain it, and also how we can, let me tell you, what I really want to find out at the end of this whole series is how can I walk in true freedom? Because there is absolutely nothing more that I would love to know than that. And I'm sure it is going to happen very soon. So maybe in this service, or who knows, next service. But if you want to find out,
one way to find out, right? And so to everybody, I think we've had a great time, but we can't wait to get into this. Let's talk a bit more about true freedom. See you as we come up next. Live service with Pastor Timmy in the London Lighthouse. Thanks very much for your time with us. See you later.
Bye all. Thank you.